So if you haven't noticed, Vanguard can have some crazy spawns once in a while. And obviously in COD history, there's been a lot of different iterations of how maps have worked. Some games that have had better spawns than others, but realistically at the end of the day, there's two types of spawns. There's traditional COD spawns, and then there's what's now called squad spawns. Obviously, Modern Warfare really introduced these squad spawns and really changed how spawns work in COD. And today we're breaking down the difference between both of them so that you can dominate the spawns in COD Vanguard and fry. So things you love to see. Without further ado, let's get right into this one. Let's go. Alrighty, so here we are. This is TAC Maps by the COD Rec League. Highly recommend. It's a great program. You can download it on the Microsoft Store. No free shoutouts, but free shoutouts right here. It's fantastic. You got all of the call outs. You got like everything's here. I mean, things you'll love to see. It's a fantastic program. Long story short, we're going to be here on Tuscan and talk about all of the different situations here. So first of all, I want to explain what traditional spawns in COD were like. So generally when they think of spawns, it's all about map control and map positioning and your teammates positioning on the map. The easiest way to think about the difference is that in traditional spawns, each hardpoint has a set spawn area depending on team setups. So actually, for example, let's go to raid in Cold War. So let's say, for example, on P2, there were really like set spawns on P2. So basically, there was spawns on the map right here in the back. There was spawns here back behind laundry. And so if you had the hill, you were probably spawning on one of those two sides. Normally, it was hard to pin people back there. Let's just say this is your setup. If a team's pushing through laundry, you're for sure spawning back here in the back spawn. If a team's pushing up towards your flank here, like towards P4, then you're spawning over here back behind laundry. So those are the two different spawns. Then the team who's attacking the hill would either spawn like in bottom mansion, inside zig, or on ramp. And those were basically the 5 spawns for that hill. You wouldn't really spawn anywhere else. And then basically you had to cross a certain point in the map, and then that's when the spawns would flip. Like it looks something like this, where if you cross something like along this line right here, then you could start flipping people out, and then the team who's inside the hill would actually start spawning out like in these different areas, depending on obviously the positioning of your team. The positioning on the map was the key to the spawns, all right? So that's the big thing you gotta nail down here. But there's obviously some big time differences inside of Vanguard, and that's what we're talking about here. So let's say that this is the current setup on Tuscan here on P1. So the first thing to understand about these squad spawns in like a Modern Warfare or Vanguard type engine here, the biggest difference first to understand is how much of a game changer someone leaking through the map and getting through the flank here can be for flipping spawns. Like in Cold War, one player could influence the spawns, but your teammates wouldn't spawn on you. They'd spawn in a different place unless you have full control of that spawn. In a situation like this, even though the blue team has more players like on like this side of the map right here, like let's say it's something like this, like even though the blue team has way more players on this right side of the map, and it could even be more extreme, like it could be something like this, even though there's not one blue player even close to like the midway point of the map, it would still be possible for a red player to spawn up back here because this number 4 player already snuck through. So that's the biggest thing, and why you call it squad spawns is because once a guy leaks through, you can actually flip these spawns and give yourself the more advantageous spawns. And so that's the biggest thing to understand off the rip here when you're trying to get a good feel for the spawns in Vanguard, is that watching these flanks and maintaining like a full map control is really, really important. And leaking out early to try to rotate is crucial for success in this game. And one big thing to understand as well, and we saw this a lot on Checkmate last year, is how like your line of sight influences the spawns. Right? If you're looking at something, it can definitely break the spawns and cause them to spawn out. In this game, it's not as extreme as it was in past games. The rules in this game are a little bit more loose because of the squad spawns. Like you might have like 2 or 3 like parallel spawns that work for like a P1 like this, where teams might spawn on this side of the map, they might spawn here, or like here, or I don't know, maybe here, depends on what they end up creating the maps like. The red team could spawn like back here, or if the blue team's kind of pushed up, then maybe they'd spawn way out like over here. Something like that, you know, where you're looking for like these like close spawns versus far spawns, or what that might look like in a map. But the biggest thing to understand in this game is that if you remember back to Modern Warfare, like on St. Petrograd, you had to have to like rotate so early from like P2 to P3 because those squad spawns were crucial to flip and give yourselves map control. And we're gonna be seeing a lot more of that, especially on maps like Tuscan here, where there's gonna be battles going down here on the flank between two players trying to fight it out to win a rotation and slip through here. You know, where something like this might happen where this guy could still spawn over here, but now you could see a situation where red ends up spawning on team 4 and then you're having a battle in the back for spawns again. Like there's gonna be weird things happening in this game. Like obviously we're still trying to figure out exactly how each spawn works on every given map, but that's the general gist right now. We saw that even on Berlin and scrims so far, is like on P3 here, you have to push all the way through and the spawn for P3 is back here. And so if you're trying to maintain P3, you're really looking to block this spawn back here. And if one player leaks out into the back here, you can 100% flip the spawns and get a whole team to spawn on you back there, even if the blue team has control of like even a lot of the hill. Like something like this could quite literally still spawn them back there if a player leaks back there. So you anchoring, quote unquote, in this game is more important than it was in past games where all you had to do was worry about certain like positionings on the map or making sure you have like a certain area of the map covered. Like last year on Moscow, a really good example of that would have been like on P1 on Moscow, like something like this, where like if you had a team like pushed up in hill, you had maybe one hitting towards escalators, then this last guy to spawn up was crucial on P1. Where the rule was last year is that if your team passed this line, like let's say this player moves into the hill here and now your whole team is past that line, that's gonna spawn red out. So the next person to spawn up is going to spawn at the back here, like back here P2. That would still spawn this player back on P2. So every team always had to make sure that they had somebody like, you know, on plat or watching outer street or making sure they're holding, you know, inside offices or bulletin because of that rule. So there was always that awareness there, and like you had to be aware of when someone was spawning up because of that. Let's say that this map is now Vanguard. If someone slips through here, a player could still spawn back here. So you have to be much more wary the overall like lanes that you're watching and how often you're checking these flanks with squad spawns. And you have to be really aware of that at all times while playing respawn. And so you have to keep track of when guys are spawning up, the last time you've seen a player. Like you have to be watching the kill feed, like, yo, when's the last time we saw this player probably slip through and is in the back of the map right now flipping the spawn. So there's all these things that come into play here with squad spawns, and the teams that master the ability to track players and keep guys in check are going to be the teams who dominate inside of respawn this year versus the whole map control situation of last year. So it is really, really interesting. The rules and the positionings are a little bit different this year, but just know the route man's going to get paid this year with the squad spawns in place. So overall, hope you guys enjoyed this video breaking down the squad spawns. If you guys did, I'm definitely be doing more videos about certain maps and certain weird things that happen on different hills. So make sure to subscribe so you never miss an upload. And of course, like, comment, subscribe, share the video if you guys really enjoyed. Drop all your questions or thoughts or anything else down below because I'd love to hear them. But as always, guys, I'm your boy SalvationsElite, and we'll see you next time. I'm out.